Hey, what's up? So today we're gonna be doing something relatively out of the norm for what I usually like to do. So today, I'm just gonna kind of cut a bit of controversy with stretched res or stretched resolution. So, uh, this is pretty hard to say, but stretched resolution doesn't really give you that much of an advantage. Now, I do want to say something before you guys start going in the comments and saying, "Oh, but Turtle Soup, what do you mean? There's advantage. You can't just say there's no advantage." Yeah, you're right. I can't say that there's no advantage, but there's definitely a lot smaller of an advantage than a lot of you may think. Let's get in. There's 7 tests, by the way, but let's get into test number 1, and then through, and then to test number 7. And after that, you know, I'll say some stuff. Alright, we have test 1 of stretch resolution, 1080 by 1080. So here, I'm going to try to look over it. I can't see the killer. Now I see him. Can you go over here? On this other side? I cannot see the killer. And whenever I go over, he's right here. Let me go over here. See his red light, of course. Okay, now I'm going to switch to native. Okay, now we're on native resolution. And we're gonna see if we can see over. I can't see over the loop, like normal. Still can't see him, and now I see him. Okay, now can you go to the other side? Okay, I can't see him. I can hear him though. Still can't see him. Now I can see him. Go over here. Of course, I can see his red light. Can't see the top of his head. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, we have stretched resolution 1080 by 1080, test 2. Can you stand right next to the rock? And just stay there. Okay, so I can see him. I can see him. And of course I can see him. Now I'm going to switch to native. You just stay there. We have native test number 2. See if we can see him. You can see him pretty clearly. You can see him clearly. And of course we can see him clearly here. Hello, and this is Wrecker's Yard. This is test number 3 for stretch resolution 1080 by 1080. This killer will stand in place as for both tests. We'll try to look over it. I cannot see the killer. Can't see him. Right? Can't see him. Now I'm going to I'm gonna change. Now I'm going to change back to 1920 by 1080, which is native. And now we're back to native. And you can still not look over it. I still don't see the killer. I can't see him. Of course, whenever I walk through this and see the crack, I can see him, but not here. I can't see him, right? Nope. So, test number 3 concluded. Okay, we have test number 4 of 1080 by 1080 stretch. And yeah, test 4, we're gonna see if we can see over this. Can't see him? Now I can see him, right? So I can see him over this, correct? I'm gonna try to look over here. Can I see him? Nope, can't see him. Come over here, of course I can see him. I can see him over these little crevices, right? Okay, now let's go to native. And here we have test number 4 of native. Let's see if we see him over. So we see him over it, just like stretch. Of course, my camera isn't as tall, but I can still see him, right? So I can still see him over this crevice, and I can still see him over this. Now I'll go to the different angles, see if I can see him here. Cannot see him here. Of course I can see him here. Now I'll go back over here. And I can see him. Yep. Test number 4 concluded. So here we have test number 5 of stretch res 1080 by 1080 in Wrecker's Yard. Here we have, I cannot see him here. I can see his red light, and I can see the tippy top of his head whenever he kind of comes over. Right, you see him? I can see him here. Of course I can see him here. And I stop seeing him here. Okay, now let's switch to native. Okay, now we'll be testing out native. So, I cannot see him over this. Then here I can see the tippy top of his head whenever he goes around and he moves around. See the tippy top? Yep. I can see him, I can see him, I can see him, and I stop seeing him right here. Test 5 concluded. Alright, we have test number 6, stretch res 1080 by 1080, Wrecker's Yard. We're going to be examining this jungle gym here. And he'll be standing here the whole time. So I'm going to be going around. So you see, I can see him, of course. Then I can barely see him right here. Then I can see him on this little arch here. And I can see him right here. Now we'll switch to native. Do we see her? I can see the top of his head, tippity top. I can see his head pretty clearly right here. I can see the tippity top of his head right here. Of course I can see him through here. Of course I can see him over this. Then I can see him here. So, test 6 concluded. Now we have test 7, 1080 by 1080, stretch resolution. See here? I can see him over the loop, right? Of course I can still see him. I can barely see him there. Well, I can't actually see him unless he moves specifically. And of course, I can barely see him over this. So, now we're going to switch to native. Let's go back to this position. So now we have native. I can see him over here. I can see him over this. Let's go over here. Of course I can see him here. And if he gets to the right animation, I should be able to barely see. Yep, I just saw the tip of his head right there. Of course, I can see him over this. Just barely. Test number 7 concluded. Okay, this is after the 7 tests here, and here's my conclusion of stretched resolution versus native. Now, if you guys, didn't hear me say it 1,000 times, that was 1080 by 1080, which is insanely stretched, by the way. Not many people use that. Well, I mean, I guess a lot of people use it, but at the same time, not really. Anyways, my conclusion on it is that native and stretched resolution can see over the same things, but stretched resolution has an easier time because you don't have to really get an angle to look over the same things. While with native resolution, you kind of have to get an angle to see over the same things. There's not really a giant advantage, uh, or rather, there's really no unfair advantage that stretch resolution has over native. I mean, yeah, that's really all I have to say to kind of break up any controversy between stretch resolution and native resolution. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!